morning, comrades. You're listening to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly Good Morning Comrade, Jeff and Robert, here on the show. Robert, what's been going on? It's been a while since we were able to hook
It
up like
really
the first show.
has.
Yeah. What's been up to, bro?
I don't know. Things personally are better.
That's good.
I might be getting a promotion at work. I don't know.
Yo,
We'll see.
nice.
I trust man nor beast. I steel is the only thing I can trust. Not women, not beasts, not men. Steel. The riddle of steel. So we'll see if that happens. I'm so cynical. I never have my hopes up about anything. I'm back in the gym. So I won't say I'm lifting I'm not shaking the pillars of heaven, because at 44 years old, I've learned there's no reason for me to do such a thing. I'm trying to keep my joints together.
Yeah.
But just 30 to 45 minutes, 4 days a week, is just like, man, it's my body responded. I don't want to be, I hate to be like I'm not a fitness guru or anything like that, but just like, if you're a man, I mean, women's the same way. We all have, it's just like one chromosome separates us, the XX versus XY. But you get a little, I'll tell you what, you get a little protein, you get a little protein in your body, you get a little testosterone going. It does wonders for your mental health. Like, I feel so much better. I sleep better. And it took like not even close to a month, not even a couple days shy of a month for my body just to like respond, and just like, I'm filling out and I feel better. And yeah, please move your body, people. It's the only one you're going to get.
Healthy.
Like, if whatever you can do, like, don't, like, if you can lift, like, you need to lift heavy things to you. Yeah. And I'm not, you can get your cardio in while you're lifting. I hate cardio. I hate it. I hate it so much. Because it's boring. I have bad knees from the Marine Corps. It's like, but mostly it's boring. The bad knees is an excuse, but mostly it's just like, it's mindless.
There's low to no impact cardio, like elliptical machines or
boring
bikes or whatever.
Boring. My mind splits off. Like, if I am on an elliptical or something like that, like, got my phone, I'm playing a video, I'm trying to find distractions, I'm playing a video game on my phone, I'm doing something. But if you lift heavy, and heavy doesn't mean like, it literally means it's like whatever is heavy to you, because I'm not trying to be like pat people on the butt here. I'm just saying, like, okay, ants are strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're strong relatively. So if you're like a small person or an untrained, even if you're like an untrained person, whatever, the heaviest, the lightest weight that's going to get your muscles to respond is the weight you should be lifting. Everything past that is ego lifting. Everything past that is the train to broken tendons town. Don't do any more than that. So it's, what if your last rep is going, woo, that was heavy, and you're breathing hard, that's perfect. Anything more than that is just, it's just for show. You what they say in golf, you drive for dough. I mean, you drive for show, but you putt for dough. We're trying to get the dough. We don't care about the show. But yeah, lift weights, because you're gonna get your cardio in anyway, because you're breathing heavy. It's great.
What about light weights, heavy reps?
No, that's called junk volume.
Mm-hmm.
That's junk volume. You shouldn't be doing more, because, okay, think about it like this. Like, your tendons, right? That's the engine that's actually moving the muscle around, moving your limbs around. So if you're just you're putting on them more stress, mm-hmm, with less recovery time. So you shouldn't be doing more than 12 reps. You're 12 to 15 max. Mm-hmm. Your last rep should feel like, I could do 1 to 2 more, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And that's where you have to be honest with yourself and be like, am I really 1 to 2 more? And if you're not, you just do a couple more, and then the next set you up the weight. But you don't want to be doing a bunch of junk volume, because worst thing to me, boring, waste of time, junk volume. 2, you're just doing more of this, mm-hmm, or this, So it's just giving your tendons more time to tear apart. Don't do that.
Okay, cool. Well, this has
Like
been your
theoretically, and this is pure. Nobody ever does this, but theoretically, if you could get under a load and move that weight one time, you did one set of one, and it was your absolute max. We knew it was your max to where like I can't do any forget weightlifting. If it's like my arms, I can't lift a feather after I'm done doing that one rep max. And you went home and you did that consistently 4 to 5 times a week, you would have the same benefit because all it is just giving your muscles the correct stimuli to make them grow. But if you were to do that, now you've taken it too far the other direction, and now you're like, oh, I'm gonna break my body, I'm gonna break my tendons by doing the one rep to death max. You don't want to do that.
Gotcha.
But
Well,
theoretically, could.
this has been your Good Morning Comrade Fitness Corner with Robert.
Everybody, I mean, like everybody should be training for the revolution. They really should. You
Yeah.
gotta. There's 3 things. I say this all the time. There's 3 things you should know how to do physically. You should know how to fire and maintain a firearm. You should know how to throw a punch, and you should know how to defend against being taken to the ground and also take somebody to the ground. Wrestling, boxing, basic firearms training. That's it.
There you go.
This is for show.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna do much of that right now because I have got a pinched nerve in my neck.
Yeah. Ugh, it's the worst.
Man, and it's like right there on that like neck, shoulder, back area, which is just like everything. And like I had to go to I was out for work. I was traveling for work when it really kind of hit. Couldn't sleep, couldn't do nothing, and I'm just like going to urgent. Like I flew to Lansing, like East Lansing, Michigan, which is where I was working at the time. And like as soon as I like checked into my hotel, I go to the front desk. I'm like, "Where's the urgent care? Get me to the urgent care immediately." Like it was, I was on a plane like with my arm and shoulder all cramping up. They gave me, some, and I will say this, our medical system in the United States is garbage. I'm going to get to that point in a minute, but I will say the Michigan University of Michigan medical system is actually pretty damn good. And so they gave me some pain medicine. They gave me some muscle relaxers, and they sent me home. But a couple of days later, at like 11 o'clock at night, it hit me again. I went to the emergency room and just had to get them hit me up again. And I went one more time, and then I flew home early on Sunday, and had to go to urgent care here. And I will say, the Michigan system was a lot better than the Virginia system. They had me try to set up an appointment with like a sports medicine like orthopedist. I can't get an appointment with an orthopedist for 3 weeks, bro. It's ridiculous. Like I'm dying in pain over here, and I can't get somebody to see my neck and back. You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean. Like even having okay insurance, like I have payroll provider,
mine's pretty
plan,
good too.
and it's like terrible. It's terrible. And you go, and they'll be like, oh, you have to wait for it. I don't know what these people are talking about when they're like, oh, even like Canada, you have to wait forever to see a doctor. I'm like, when's the last time you saw a doctor here in America? Mm-hmm. And you're not like, what do you mean you have to? Like, I have to wait all the time. Mm-hmm. For weeks on end. And if something happens and you miss that appointment, they're like, oh, we'll get you in 6 months.
Yeah.
It's like, what are y'all? And this is for pay. This is for profit. Like, what are y'all talking about?
And it's not a small amount of money either. They get paid. No. I mean, we pay them an arm, a leg, and like everything to set up this system where you can't see a doctor if you're dealing with like debilitating pain in your back. And I'm not trying to even say my situation is like the worst or whatever, but like I probably should see a doctor, like a specialist about this in a time that is less than a month from now. This is affecting whether or not I can go to work. This is affecting like whether or not I can do anything around my house because we
Yeah.
just moved and we haven't even put everything away yet. So it's just like one of those situations where I'm down when I need to be up, moving, and doing stuff. And the fact that, I can't see an orthopedist for 3 weeks to almost a month is just like literally just destroying my life right now.
No, it's wild, dog. Like this, and that's one of those things like we were talking about off air is the I'm trying to link these two things together. We're talking about the I don't know if I'm gonna call them ICE concentration camp riot, protest, whatever you want to call it. I'll just call it. It's a riot. I have no. What am I? A liberal? I have no qualms of calling it a riot. It's good. It's a good thing. Riots.
Liberal.
Yeah, riots are the language of the unheard. But it's like these things are a sign how hard fascism is trying to advance shows you how hard fascism is in its death throes in this country, because how it ties to Medicare, because we're worse off than the Nazis. And I'm looking at this realpolitik like cynically. And when I say we're worse off than Nazis, I mean like at least the Nazis, they understood they had to make the trains run on time. But because of capitalism, our economic system here in the US, the government can never do anything that's for the good of the population, like universal health care. So all it has is culture issues. All it has is these like petty grievances that it can do, and then try to give red meat to people. But the red meat isn't literal red meat, is what people need right now. They need cheap gas, and they literally need red meat. And so they're just speed running their own extinction by doing this kind of stuff.
The only thing they have is the bread and the circus. Oh, they don't even have bread. It's just circuses.
Yes, it's just circuses. Thank you. That was so much more concise than what I was trying to get at.
I mean, the fact that they're going to do UFC 250 for the 250th anniversary of the United States at the White House and make it a whole event. There was just reports recently that Donald Trump himself just recently invested in TKO, which is the owners of UFC and the WWE, and also some other boxing promotions or whatever. It's just this sort of like tripling down on, well, we'll do culture war stuff, never ending, and we'll set the crosshairs on immigrants, we'll set the crosshairs on trans people, or whatever it is, but you ain't getting even a scrap in the meantime. You're not getting a thing. In fact, your gas is going to be $6 because we're also going to be at war in Iran for no reason other than because we do whatever Israel tells us to do.
Because Israel, yeah, that's it. I was having this discussion, and since we're dancing around that right now, I was having this discussion. There's a guy at my work. He's an older guy, and he watches Fox News all the time. And he's actually, I don't want to say it's surprising, but he is curious. So he knows that I'm like, slightly to the right of Che Guevara. And we have like legit conversations about politics and about, the world and all that. And I was like, look, dude, and it actually did get through to him. And I said, because I could see he started shaking his head. And I said, look, dude, we're talking about Iran. I was like, you can feel however you want, because he's talking about like, oh, Islam is terrible and they're crazy over there. And I hit him with the whole thing of just like, well, that whole regime is just our baby, right? Like we created that. And he was like, yeah, I guess you're right. But I go, look, man, at the end of the day, it's this. You can feel however you want to feel about Iran, but you have to understand we don't live in a sovereign country. And Bibi Netanyahu is your real president. And he just, Israel just tells us what to do. And they tell us jump and we say how high. Now, I said before we get into anything else, and I think like this is how people in our audience should approach it too. I said, look, before we get into anything else about who's got blackmail on who, why they're doing this.
It doesn't matter.
Epstein, none of it matters. None of that matters at all. You shouldn't even think about that kind of stuff because it'll drive you crazy.
Yeah.
It's almost a feedback loop to a distraction. It doesn't matter why. All you need to know is no other country can come here as an unregistered foreign agents and dump millions of dollars into our political system and decide who's getting elected and who's not. There's no other. So you don't have to worry about why they can do this. All you have to know is it's wrong.
And they're picking off. They're picking off they're picking off Republicans now. They just like last week, Thomas Massey, who was the one guy who was like, actually, I'm a real libertarian, not like that fake Rand Paul, who's actually against war. And obviously, like, he's not somebody who is like a part of any kind of future broad coalition or whatever, but he's definitely like a dissenter on the right side, on the right wing side, as like pushing for essentially a ceasefire or whatever. Being one of the only people in the entire Congress on the Republican side that are anti-war, and that ended up being the most expensive House primary in history. They spent so much money on that and got that guy out, and like we're just essentially at cult when it comes to the right wing in the United States. I mean, it's not even close. And the left wing ain't much better. I mean, the Democrats ain't much better.
There is a cult aspect to it. I feel like this is one of the things I just ranted about things that don't matter. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it is a distinction without a difference. But it's like, yeah, MAGA is like the cult of Donald Trump is real, but it's always just existed, and it just waited for a leader that was strong enough to like unleash it. Right. Because the guys who are like, I don't know, they're like got Donald Trump like stuff in their house, and they're like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? They're wearing the merch, and those guys are in the cult for sure.
The dad from that Necessary Conversation podcast, essentially.
Yeah. That's a cult. That's a guy in a cult. He's a cult member. But then I feel like the rest of them, like even okay, let's say the guy I talked to at work, I think it's sunk cost. Mm-hmm. I think it's like, oh, I can't be like, I have to just follow through with this. I can't be wrong. And
it's that, I'm not wrong. I'm not owned. Oh, I turned to a corn cob, that kind of stuff.
Right. Because what'll happen is, and I feel like why this conversation is actually important is because what's going to happen is Donald Trump will die of natural causes or whatever, the moon will fall into Lake Michigan or something. And one day Donald Trump will no longer be the fake president of the United States, and Bibi Netanyahu and Israel will still be our masters. But one day he will not be. So what will happen is they will start they've already started. They'll be like, oh, the Democrats hindered him, even though we had all branches of, Supreme Court, executive branch, and
that damn Thomas Massey did more damage than you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, they're going to start saying this kind of stuff. It's the same. I mean, liberals do the same thing. They did this after the previous presidential election when they said we don't need leftists. We don't care about Gaza. And then as soon as Kamala loses, they say, oh, those damn leftists do the election. They're gonna cope with something. And I think the cope is more dangerous than the cult. Mm-hmm. Because people who are, I mean, I see it all the time. People who they're not in the cult. They'll just make excuses why true capitalism has never been tried. Mm-hmm.
Right. Or I mean, that came through on the Democrat side when they had this like nonsense around this like 2024 autopsy that they just like slapped together. And like when you could look and see in all of the polling and every shred of evidence points to the fact that the Harris campaign lost because they didn't offer anything for working people that they thought would change their lives. They were just like saying, oh yeah, we're going to go after like price gouging or whatever. And then she also went along and basically she said she would maintain the exact same policy with respect to the genocide genocide in Gaza, and basically she said at the RNC, or the DNC rather, that she wanted the United States to be the most lethal fighting force in the world. And Donald Trump, all he had to do was say, like, make basic allusions about being against wars, and he wins. He won, and obviously it was not true. Obviously it was BS the whole time, but it doesn't matter because at least he understood like the politics of the situation and being like, okay, people are PO'd about war right now. All I have to do is pretend I'm against that, and I will win, or I will at least have a better chance at winning. And this is where we are. And obviously, the solution that we have is no change on policy in Gaza, and uh, also just overthrowing Venezuela and beginning a war, Maduro in Venezuela, and beginning a war in Iran. And we're just in a worse situation. So if the Democrats are supposed to be better about these kinds of things, which I'm not even convinced that they are, but
Yeah.
like if like then they have to at least like understand the politics of the situation. And when you read that BS autopsy that they put out, which they tried to bury, and then what they put out was always about like the whole thing was about their messaging and about their communication strategy, and that's what cost them. And it wasn't the fact that their policies are something that nobody wants. They can't even pretend to offer up policies that people would want because then it would get in their head that this is possible. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's interesting. I think you bring up a point that actually is more interesting than the one that we started on, is that when I talk to, liberals, the first thing they want to say to me is like, "Oh, Donald Trump is terrible." My in-laws are like this.
Yeah.
"Oh, Donald Trump is such a bad guy." And they're trying to like get an in with me to like let me know that I'm a safe person. Like, I'm not one of them. Like, Donald Trump is the Republicans. And I feel like we're at a point when I tell people I had this conversation with some, people at a house party, and they were the same thing here in Louisiana. And they're like, Donald Trump's so bad. I can't believe that Governor Landry is doing this. And I go, yeah, it's terrible. And it's the Louisiana Democratic Party's fault. And they go, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're looking at me like I have a third head. And they're like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I hate them more. And here's why. And I lay out my whole screen of just like, I could go. The concise version is there's a chance that a right winger is savable because they just don't know any better. But like liberals in power and privilege, they know better. And I've started calling right wingers online when I fight with them. I've started, my new tactic is I've started calling them liberals. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, they're like, I'm not a liberal. And I'm like, it's funny because you agree with the same things that the Democratic Party does. And I'll like post stuff and I'll like find things and I'll be like, you are lockstep with the current Democratic Party. You are a liberal, and it destroys them. Like they get so mad. But I guess, my big point is it's not enough. It's not enough for you to sit here and tell me like, oh, this is so terrible. Donald Trump is so bad. Like it's not enough for me, liberal. Like I don't want to hear that because it doesn't do anything. Like to I don't want to say change people's political reality or material reality, but it's what the problem is. The problem is the Democratic Party, and especially the Louisiana Democratic Party, has zero fight in them. We said this a million times. They rather reign in hell as the opposition party than to have to be accountable to people. Mm-hmm. That's where it comes down. And again, it's capital. Capital's the end boss. The money that they've taken from capital and the way that capital's got, has funded their campaigns has hamstrung them, just like they've hamstrung the Republican Party, where they can deliver nothing material for their electorate, the electorate.
Yeah. It's also like one of those things where, like, talking about American politics, like I've noticed this happens all the time, and it's been like this forever, where the right will just like look at the Democrats and they'll be like, "Oh, you guys are communists. You're basically you want to trans all the children, all trans everything or whatever. You're trying to, destroy all the mores of this country." And instead of just saying like, "What are you talking about? You're being ridiculous," Democrats respond to that by essentially saying, "No, we're not, and we're going to prove it by disciplining trans people locally or by throwing them
100%.
under the bus." And like, and I live in Virginia now, and Abigail Spanberger, for example, runs as this centrist governor. And she says she's going to be standing with LGBT and with the unions, all this other stuff. She hasn't thrown LGBT folks under the bus yet, but she has thrown immigrants under the bus by allowing ICE, by vetoing a bill that would essentially ban ICE from showing up to like court hearings and schools and stuff like that. There was a public sector collective bargaining bill that would essentially allow state workers in the state of Virginia to form a union and get representation in a contract. She vetoed it. She vetoed a bill that would essentially allow state workers to organize and form a union and fight for better conditions on her job because she's a right winger. They're all authoritarians. Democrats are authoritarians, and you're getting the same stuff from Abigail Spanberger, from this whole next wave, Alyssa Slotkin, Glusenkamp Perez in Washington, and all these other freaks. And they for some insane reason, well, actually no, like it's not inexplicable, obviously, but like they have somehow programmed in their brain that this is what the future of liberalism is. And if that's the case, liberalism is dead. It is going to die within our lifetimes in this country. And we are in a true socialism or barbarism moment. The only thing, because I mean, again, one of two things is going to happen. Well, one of three things, right? One, we're just going to be in a never-ending back and forth. We get a Brandon style presidency where they don't do anything, and then we go right back to fascism over again, and it's just like those back and forth until we're just in straight up fascism. Two is just the fast way to fascism, where we just essentially have the Democratic Party just crumble and fail, and then next thing you know, the right wing does whatever it wants. Or then the third thing is we actually move things forward and actually have organization and power built in this country, which is what is the one I would like to see. I would rather not see the slow or the fast road to fascism.
It's like, I guess to be even more concise with your point, with our point in general, it's like, I think what we're trying to say is it doesn't matter if one day the Democratic Party doesn't takes control of all three branches of government, and Donald Trumpism is defeated, MAG is defeated. It doesn't, none of that matters unless the Democratic Party deals with their role and their inaction that allowed it to come to power in the first place.
Well, the people that are like in the establishment of the Democratic Party will never come to that realization. The only thing that can change that is that the people that are currently in those positions, that are standing in the way of the actual progress forward, they need to be defeated and discredited and just banished from any kind of like avenue of politics that exists in this, and not just in this country but anywhere. That's what needs to happen. And so like when you have, obviously there's strategic, things that you have to do along the way to sort of make sure that those conditions are possible. And sometimes that means in the state of Louisiana, maybe not voting, or like voting for a terrible Democrat or whatever. Or even in Virginia, like the alternative to Abigail Spanberger was an insane person who would have essentially done Donald Trump policies. Sometimes you just got to eat the poop and just like move along in your lives and do actual work. But like,
sure, but even that's failing too, though.
Oh yeah,
people are done with that. Like I understand. It's so obvious that people are done with that.
So then in that case, then there needs to be an alternative built that's actually different. That's that's what really needs to happen. But like situationally, essentially, you do have to eat the poop.
Yeah, no, I mean, believe me, like, as cynical as I am, I have no problem with that. And it's like, as long as we're gonna take that kind of, if and I say this to my actual like leftist friends out there, yeah, if we're gonna take that medicine from one end to talk, we were talking offline about how I completely flipped on Graham Plattner in Maine, even though it's like it's a race in Maine that we have no say in at all. But you know, if I was a resident of Maine right now and was voting for the Senate, I'd be sure to vote for Graham Plattner because it's like, first of all, I can't. He's saying all the right things, and if we're worried about him turning into another Fetterman, I understand that, but then that means you just can't vote. Mm-hmm. And if you're just like, hey, I hate electoral politics, which I personally do.
Hey, God bless.
I'm cool with that, but then you just can't vote for anybody if we're not gonna we're not gonna have perfect information on anyone ever who's aspiring for government office. So you're just going to have to just either believe them or not believe them. Second of all, what made me believe him is like judge him by his enemies, because this is a guy who he's not even like a Mondami leftist. Like he runs away from being called a leftist or a socialist for some reason in the year 2026. And I'm like, but both parties, the Israel lobby, the Republican Party, and the Democratic Party, all are like, this guy must be defeated now. Cannot have it. And that makes me go, oh, well, all the people I hate this guy, so there must be something to him. So, if you're going to vote, sometimes we have to like you have to, what'd you say? You have to eat the poop.
Take the
medicine, but I feel like that we should push that's, and it feels like it's less prevalent than ever in my lifetime, to where people aren't putting up with like the worst choice between two bad choices. But then also we have to take a win. We have to say like, oh, well, this is 80%, this is 70% of what I want, and I'm taking the win. Like you and I are both poker guys, we're both
playing percentages.
So yeah, so if the percentage, if we ever even got, there's no complete information in a hand of poker, but if we're playing the pot odds, and there's a 40% chance even in poker, like we're moving in. It is what it is at that point. But yeah, if you play, like you said, play the percentages. And more like, people need to start thinking about it like that.
Even so, WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3 is Good Morning Comrade. One of the other things too that I think is like, I think people and look, if you are a member of like a socialist party and you have somebody who's running as a like down ballot third party or whatever, and you want to vote for them, fine. But there's a lot of folks on the left on the that are just essentially like it's the kind of people that like run around calling Zoran Mamdani is like Zioron, a Zionist or whatever. They're people that don't believe in electoral politics, and in fairness, they're mostly online. They don't believe in any kind of like electoral politics, which I totally am fine with. But then they see somebody who is running as like a leftist platform for American politics, and they spend all of their time, instead of doing whatever it is that they should be doing to actually build something, going after somebody like Zoran Mamdani.
Yeah, it's corny.
It's crazy, man. I see so much of that. And maybe it's just the fact that I'm on Twitter still or on other forms of social media that just rot your brain and show you the dumbest stuff that you've ever seen in your entire life. But like the fact that people are wasting their time, the idea that exists just like messes with me. It's like, I thought you were raising, like, why don't you raise money for Palestinian families or whatever it is that you're doing? Like, why do you have to care about what's going on in the American politics?
I'll elaborate on that just a bit, because I want to be like kind of careful with that language. My first thing is like, I don't want to be the whataboutism people, because that easily gets turned with like, well, you care about Palestine so much, or you don't care about the Congo. It's like, shut up. One, we don't fund the Congo, like blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
But my thing is, okay, you don't like, go back to Graham Plattner. I've had this fight. Yeah. I'm like, one, if you don't like Graham Plattner, then what is the plan?
Yeah.
What is the plan? Like, tell me
and,
what you want. Who's the better candidate? So let's go knock doors.
And that's not even like a bad faith question. Like literally, if it's not electoral politics, it's cool. Highlight what else could be done outside of electoral politics, because I'm all for it. If you want to steer people towards organizing their workplace, form a union, or organizing tenants, or whatever it is that you do, like have a rally, this or that, the other place, that's cool. Why are you talking about other stuff? Why are you talking about Bram Plattner so much? You don't even live in Maine.
Yeah, I just want a plan. Like, if we're voting, then I have to have the best candidate. If we're doing revolution, tell me where to meet. But like all this is not helping anybody, and they think it's activism, and it makes me mad to no end. And it's probably, like you said, terminal online brain. I reinstalled Facebook. I don't know why I did that. That's crazy. But
you're just a hardcore sicko like me, I guess.
I know I'm just a glutton for punishment, but it's just like, yes, exactly right. Like, just what do you want to do then? What do you want to do? Just tell me where to meet. Tell me where to show up. But other than that, I don't want to hear you just tell me. I say it's all the time about socialism, about economics. People tell you, oh, that does, we can't do healthcare in this country. We can't do, free college. And I'm like, we put a man on the moon. Well, what do you tell? Well, I thought this was America. What are you telling me about what we can't do?
How come all of like most of Europe can do free college, but we can't?
Yeah.
How come they can have socialized healthcare that is accessible and we can't? Like, what is okay? Let's talk about American exceptionalism. Why is America exceptionally bad at these kinds of like basic social like these aren't even like socialist policies. This is like social democracy basics.
Well, I'm just saying, like, both ways work. When right wingers come at me with what we can't do, and then leftists come at me with what we can't do, well, then somebody needs to tell me what we can do, because that's all I've ever been hearing. It's what we cannot do in this country. While it seems like the most evil people in this country, who only care about advancing capital, keep doing what it is they want to do all day.
Yeah. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want. But when it comes to actually like moving, yeah, exactly. I 100% agree.
Cool.
So NATO's breaking down, right?
What's that?
You said NATO was breaking down.
Oh, I did. I have an article here that we can read out. This is crazy to me, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel about it. I don't really have a stance on it.
It's real. The old world is dying sort of situation. If there's anything to be taken away from it, but like, go ahead and
I'll read the CNN article here. NATO members condemn Russia after drone slams into Romania apartment building, wounding 2. An explosive-laden Russian drone hit an apartment building in Romania on early Friday, injuring 2 people. Its government said as Moscow forces attacked near a nearby Ukrainian port. The strike drew swift condemnation from European Union NATO, with U.S. Ambassador to NATO Michael Whitaker calling the strike a reckless incursion. We will defend every inch of NATO territory, he said on X. Hold on to that thought.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Bucharest is urging its allies to help with its anti-drone defenses, tapping into the growing concerns that Russia's war in Ukraine could spill deeper into the continent. The drone hit the roof of a building in Galatai, near the border with Ukraine. A Romanian defense military spokesman told CNN affiliate Antenna 3 CNN. This drone entered national airspace at 1:45 a.m. and headed toward the eastern area of the city of Galatai, but we lost it from radar south of Galatai, Colonel Christian Pavici said. Romanian Foreign Affairs Minister Olena Silvia Toru said on X, had confirmed the Ministry of National Defense that the drone, which crashed into the residential building in Galatai, was of Russian origin. Colonel Martin O'Dell, spokesman for NATO's Supreme Headquarters, Allied Powers Europe, confirmed to CNN that the drone was Russian. The roof of the apartment block was visibly charred. Video footage showed while response teams and investigators inspected the site. Friday morning, the Romanian military said there was no opportunity to shoot down the drone, but stressed that the situation is under control. Okay, this is very important right here. This is the coat part. This is me talking. We are not facing an attack on Romania. We are facing the effects of a conflict taking place right next to our border, said the deputy commander of the Joint Forces Command, Brigadier General Gregory Maxim. A senior NATO military official told CNN that NATO detected and tracked the Russian drone as it crossed into Romania, but it entered Romanian airspace just minutes after hitting the Galatai apartment building. To put this in context, you're talking about something that is traveling near 200 kilometers an hour over a populated area less than 15 kilometers from the border, the official said. Nonetheless, we're witnessing what more can be done now to optimize Romania and NATO's network of sensors to shoot Romania and NATO's network of sensors and shooters to safely neutralize such threats. The official added that NATO is working with Romania to bring its MUROPS counter-drone system under NATO control, and said Russia's continued recklessness demands that allies continue to identify additional defense forces and capabilities on the Eastern Alliance Eastern Century mission.
So
on Friday, no, you're good. On Friday, NATO flew an airborne early warning E-3A aircraft to increase its air domain awareness, officials said. Let's see here. Irresponsible escalation. Toru said the foreign minister had summoned Russia's ambassador to Bucharest and that Russia's actions represent a serious and irresponsible escalation. Later Friday, Romanian President Nicolae declared a Russian consul in the southeastern seaside city of Constanța a persona non grata, saying that the consulate will close. Now, this is very important. So this statement by the Russian president saying that we're closing Russian consulates and we're making your ambassadors persona non grata conflicts 100% directly and does not make any sense, saying, hey, this is just a big oopsie doopsie by Russia. So if those of you who are listening who don't understand why this is such a big deal, what's supposed to be happening is because when Romania is a NATO Article 5 country, meaning that if any NATO Article 5 country is attacked, then all Article 5 countries are supposed to immediately declare war on the aggressor. We should be in World War III right now against Russia. We should be. And I don't know how to feel about that because we've had discussions, the Ukrainian war, invasion of Ukraine has been going on for years now. Jeff and I have talked about this for years. I'm no fan of NATO. I'm no fan of Russia. I think Ukraine was stupid for believing America that we were going to a dying empire was going to have its best interests at heart, and they should have just built nukes, acquired nuclear arms to stave off a Russian
invasion. They gave up their nukes. That's the whole thing.
That's crazy.
They gave so for people, just a quick history lesson. Like the reason that Russia was even able to invade Ukraine was because back in the 90s, Ukraine gave up their nukes in the post-Soviet era. They gave up their nukes in exchange for essentially a promise from the United States that they would essentially be their protector. And so fast forward a couple of decades when, also part of it was, I believe, they were like not allowed to be a part of NATO. And that was sort of like a part of it would appease Russia. And now when you look at it, like there was a lot of talk about adding Ukraine into NATO, which is a huge, difference in what had been happening. And Ukraine butts right up against Russia. And Russia does not want NATO to be right there at their doorstep at yet another front. So they essentially, and I'm not defending Russia, they decided to go crazy mode and invade Ukraine. And that's sort of like, I skipped over Maidan, obviously, which was in 2015, which was when they essentially had a right-wing overthrow of the Ukrainian government. But like the Cliff Notes version leads to that. But essentially, what Ukraine had was a promise from the United States to be Ukraine's protector should Russia invade. And then when Russia invaded, we sent them arms, but we didn't go to war with Russia, which I'm glad that we didn't. But it was one of these sorts of situations, as you said, where a dying empire couldn't keep its promise.
Right. Yeah, like why you would trust America about anything is crazy mode. Like you should not. I don't. You shouldn't do that. But I'm just like I really don't know how to think about this because, yeah, I'm glad that nukes aren't being currently launched. Yeah. We're not all dying in nuclear hellfire. That's really good. But there's just so much wrong here because if you're telling me, and I don't even like NATO. NATO should be gone. NATO needs to go. But if you're telling me my tax money, my taxes, the brain power, and just the resources that it takes, because the United States is NATO, to keep this thing going. And now we have a test of Article 5, really a second one, because Poland got hit by a weird strike, not that a year ago? The same way. It was just like, I can't remember what it was, but it was another oopsie from Russia. But it's like, if you're telling me that, what is it there for? Why are we even talking about this thing instead of just saying, hey, y'all, this thing is no longer valid. We're not going to have your back. It's actually disrespectful and dangerous for you to think that we are. So we all just got to go our own way now. And, go with God and peace be with y'all. And I hope everything works out. But this shit of this thing, 4650, this thing of saying, like, we have this organization that's supposed to stop you from getting attacked. And if not, you don't even have to be in the organization. If you just flirt with the organization, the country that we have this organization set up for, if and when they attack you, we won't do anything about it except send you old munitions that are just for capitalism, because that drains our munition stocks, and now we get to buy more munitions from weapons contractors. And any of you other countries that get a weird attack, a rogue drone, a rogue rocket, a rogue missile, we're not going to do anything about that either. Even though we've written explicitly, if this kind of thing's supposed to happen, it ever happens, we're all supposed to go to war now, but we're not going to do that. What is the point? What is the purpose? I don't understand it. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm torn. And I can't really understand how to feel about it.
Yeah. I mean, it is again, and maybe they're going to find some kind of way to sort of define whatever happened, this incident in Romania.
Well, they already have. Like, you just read it.
Well, what I mean to say is they'll find a way to define it as like, oh, this doesn't trigger Article 5. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, oh,
well, they're already saying we weren't attacked. This was just a collateral damage mistake.
Right, exactly. So they're going to do that.
What does it matter?
Well, it matters. Well, it matters from the perspective of, like, I guess the people that are involved in NATO don't want World War III, but it also does hold up the fact that, hey, actually, so if NATO is not going to engage and essentially start World War III when one of our countries gets happening, then what is the actual price for attacking one of these countries? If the answer is nothing. Because I mean, Ukraine was not a NATO country, which thank God it wasn't. Well, I mean, unless we just threw them under the bus like that anyway. But but that was when the nukes were supposed to start flying, right? Now Romania is actually, this is the big difference, is Romania is a NATO country, so the bombs should have already started flying, but they didn't. So if we just sort of in this situation of, is NATO, like, we just sort of like wake up and it's just like, wait up, is NATO real? Is this thing actually happening? Is this like a thing, or is it an illusion? Which it always kind of, I mean, it always kind of was. It's essentially a blanket of like comfort, like a security teddy bear that would allow for trade to happen in that realm. You know, it was essentially an idea to say like, okay, capital, don't worry about wars happening. Keep your prices low. Keep them goods flowing across borders because we've got NATO on our side to make sure that if anything does happen, we're gonna take care of it. You know what I mean? It's like an insurance company, it's like basically saying that, hey, we're gonna provide you insurance for whatever it is, and then when you actually call them and be like, hey, actually, I got rear-ended by some freak. Insurance company, okay, let's put you on hold for 3 hours. You know what I mean? That's what's happening.
No, that's exactly. You concisely put what was going on in my head. Like, you and I both play chess. Me, I play terribly and badly. But like, if you're playing somebody and you make a move and you, as soon as you put the piece down, you know it's a blunder, right? And you're like, oh, that was bad. That was real bad. But then they don't see it. And then they move somewhere else, and you're just like, wait a minute, what? And it makes you reassess what you can get away with. And that's what I feel like is happening in Russia right now. Because like, I'm going to be completely, because it makes no sense for Russia to attack Romania. It makes no sense. So I'm going to be completely charitable and say, yeah, this was an absolute mistake. This was a drone that went off target and just went crazy and hit a Romanian apartment building. Yeah, what would even be the point of hitting a Romanian apartment building? Unless you knew somebody was in there you wanted to kill. But let's just be completely gracious. And so, you know, they were in the Kremlin, they were freaking out. There was at least, and then it was like, hold. And you're like, they're not gonna do anything. They're actually making up excuses of why this happened. And they're just like kicking out our oh boy, we can
what else
can get away with anything.
Yeah.
It's over. I mean, at least, I mean, I'm just talking. I've never been in those rooms. Thank God. I'm not a monster, so I'm never going to be in those rooms. But I can imagine it's President Robert Johnson, right? I'm president, and like, we're in this, you know, they invade Ukraine, and we're trying to not stave off World War III while also bolstering Ukraine the whole bit. And this happens. Well, I got to get on the red phone, and I got to call Vladimir, and I go, Vlad, brother, I know you didn't mean to do this, but it also can't stand. So how about this? We're not even gonna launch on you. We're not launching nukes. That's crazy. We're not gonna launch our missiles because we ain't got them right now between us. But dog, I gotta take some territory. I gotta do boots on the ground.
You can't make me look ridiculous like this.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta do boots on the ground somewhere, bro. I can't tell you where it's at, but we're coming. And just be cool. We're not don't launch on us. We won't launch on you. But we gotta do something. This has to be answered for.
Yeah.
Because if not, this whole fake thing that we've set up post World War II, it means nothing. So it's like, either dismantle NATO or you gotta at least do. I mean, you know who does this? Iran. Iran does this so well. They go, America, we can't let this stand. We gotta do something. Look, we're hitting this airbase on this day. Evacuate your people.
Yeah.
And they do it. And they do it, and they say, yep, we got our retribution, and that's the end of it. Iran does this. It can be done.
That was the 12-day war. It happened last year. But then all of a sudden, the United States just decided, you know what? We're just going to open fire.
That's because we're stupid, and we look at rationality. Like I said, I don't know, for all my super nerds out here, we're like, the American Empire is a weird amalgamation of the orcs from Warhammer 40K and the Imperium of Man. We are so dumb and crazy and arrogant. we see rationality as weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And we attack and we pounce on it, which you can't deal with us like that. You have to treat us like, oh, they're crazy. They're crazy, and we have to make them bleed. I mean, throughout history, throughout all the wars that we've lost in history, that's how we've been dealt with. Like you have to show us that you're crazier than we are. And as soon as you show us you're crazier, we leave you alone. Mm-hmm. That's how it works.
And we're sick. It's funny too, because like the way, and look, I'm not a fan of the Iranian, regime or anything like that either. But like the fact that like the United States and like people on television constantly 24/7 will just say over and over again, like dehumanize like the entire society that Iran has, and say that like essentially equate them to barbarians when we're the ones that attacked them. We're the ones that started this fight, that started this whole war, and then all of a sudden it's just like you're supposed to take these people on faith when they've been doing this exact same thing for damn near 100 years. Mm-hmm. And it never works. Didn't work in Korea, didn't work in Vietnam, didn't work in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's not working in Iran right now. And it's just the same losing formula over and over again. So we're gonna
go ahead. No, what are you gonna say?
No, we're gonna see that play out in Iran when obviously the United States is constantly just like trying to do these sham negotiations and say we're close to a deal, and then there's a report that comes out that says actually Israel's planning on murdering like the chief negotiators over there. Like more perfidy, more BS. And I know
I'll really put it out. Here's my hot take. We got 4 minutes left in the show. I am a fan of the IRGC. I am a fan of the Iranian regime. And the reason why is because I can empathize. If as bad as we sit here and we talk trash about the American government, the American military machine, American capital, as much as I hate America, clip that so I can never run for any office. As much as I hate America, but in all the evil that it's done throughout time, if a foreign country, if Canada said, hey, all the oil that Louisianans drill for off the Gulf of Mexico, all that oil, you better not try to nationalize your oil reserves and sell your oil at a reasonable price, and you better let us control that. And they said when we decide no, the Canadian intelligence does a coup in our country and installs a king. They get rid of our electorally democratic, they get rid of Donald Trump and install a Canadian king to do their bidding. And then we overthrow that regime because of that. You better believe I'd be saying death to Canada every day of my life. And just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. They've got the CIA and the Mossad so far up the behind. Of course they're going to be insane. Yeah. And it's like, we've never given them a chance to do anything else. So instead of just saying, hey, will you just sell us your oil at a reasonable price and we can all make a little bit of money? No, we have to have all the profit. Capital has to have all the profit. Well, then we've never given them a chance. Well, of course, their regime is going to do wild stuff because we've never given them a chance because we're constantly trying to overthrow it. Yep. It's like, I take it as this, like I have firearms. I'm not a fan of guns. Like they're not penis extenders for me. I don't feel any kind of emotional thing about them, but I have them because we live in a crazy world. So it's like, I would throw these things into the fire today if I didn't feel like I needed to own them. Mm-hmm. We've never given that country that chance. So how do you expect them to act? So I throw my lot in with them.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to Good Morning Comrade. Robert and I, we do have to go. We'll be back next week. We are on Mondays on WHIV LP New Orleans 102.3. We're also available for syndication through the Pacifica Network. So call your local Pacifica station and tell them that you want Good Morning Comrade. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.